speak to us a little bit more about grant funding through Auckland Council. Welcome, Arna and Lima.
Thank you, Caitlin. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. As mentioned, my name is Arna. I am the Grants Advisor for the Howick Local Board, Orake, and the Waitemata Local Board. Also joining me is Lima. She looks after the Franklin Local Board. Oh, there she is.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I am also one of the advisors, and I look after the Franklin, Papakura, and the Manurewa Local Board. So back to you, Anna.
Thank you. So I have a presentation to also show as well, if that could be put up, please. Perfect. Okay, so we'll start with the different types of grants at council. So there are regional arts grants, creative community scheme grants, environmental incentive grants, and local board community grants, which is what we will be talking about today. I also believe that this presentation will be sent out to each one of you. So there's a few links in there regarding all the grants and local boards and how to apply as well. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So as you can see here, there are a few different, after the grant. So the process starts with creating rounds. Each local board has different rounds, opening and closing dates. They're usually around the same time, around the same month. After the closing date, the local board and the grants advisors will meet to make a final decision on who gets what and how much they get. Once you apply, your application will get assessed by myself based on the information you have provided. So for example, what your project type is. So there are 6 project types, each are arts and culture, community, environment, events, historical heritage, and sport and recreation, which is obviously what you guys will be looking at. You will also be assessed on if it is located in the local board area, how much you're asking for, and what your reach is. So for example, if your project or event, it caters to 100 people, and then 50% of those people will be coming from that specific local board area. We are also assessed on your past achievements for the community. So if you've done something similar before, you'll also go through an eligibility test. So if the dates are in line with each funding round, for example, each round, as I mentioned, has opening and closing dates, when the project needs to start. So there you have to start after a specific date of that round. And these need to meet that criteria. If you are requesting funding within the given criteria, for example, local grant rounds, you can only apply up to $10,000 for some local boards. Sorry, thank you. This can be different for each local board as well. You'll also need to declare conflicts of interest. So if you have a board member on your organisation that's also a local board member for that area, you'll need to let us know as well. You also need to provide quotes and expenses of your event or project, excuse me. You will also need to provide an umbrella company if you are not a registered organisation. If you are an individual, well, they will likely need to do this. So typically who apply are incorporated societies or charitable trusts. And then after we assess your application, so that's the 3rd step, it is then presented to local board members and they make a decision on if you received the funding and how much based on what you've asked for. So once that's done, you'll be notified. So we'll send you a letter if successful or unsuccessful. If you are successful, you will receive logos as well as a funding agreement, which is like a contract that you need to sign, read over and sign. Can we please go to the next one? So step 4, 3 or 4 or 5, sorry. So accountability reports. So after the funds you are sent, you will be also sent an email in regards to an accountability report. The email will outline what you need to do, but the accountability report is accounting for the funding that we have given you by sending us receipts, paid tax invoices and bank statements, also explaining what happened with your project or event. Once you have entered all necessary details, the report is assessed and we will contact each applicant again if you're not satisfactory, and support you in the information that we need from you in order for that accountability report to be successful. As you can see, it's an online accountability report, so everything we do is online as well. Can we please go to the next slide? Thank you. So who do we fund? Individuals, organisations or companies. So things like incorporated societies, as I mentioned before, and charitable trusts. Limited liability companies also apply. Some schools apply, and individuals who can only apply for up to $1,000 if they do not present an umbrella company. So examples on what you can apply for as sports groups would be venue hire, sports court hire, sports facilitators, sports equipment, sports uniform, or travel, depending on what the travel is for. And it'll also depend on if it is a higher or lower priority for that local board. So each local board has higher and lower priorities. This will be outlined in each local board program, which we'll come to soon. And obviously what we do not fund is political parties, council or council related bodies, other government agencies or schools. Can we please go to the next slide? So for the Howick Local Board, these are the rounds for this financial year. The next one is opening on the 14th of February. And then there's a multi-board round. So this is where you can apply to 3 or more boards. I'll just have a quick look. You can apply for this now. So what will happen is at the end of the slide, there's a few links on how to apply. Can we please go to the next slide? I think it's frozen, I'm so sorry. I'm just waiting for it to load. Yep, okay, so this is a quick response round. The timeframes are a lot quicker and the amounts are a lot smaller. The next one is opening on the 18th of April. And the next slide, please. So local grant programs. Each local board has outcomes and priorities that are outlined in each program and are prioritised if met. And each local board also have different priorities which are considered either higher or lower priorities. This means that the local board will also prioritise applicants based on that measure. Next slide, please. So these are all the local boards that we have within Auckland Council, and I have also linked all their programs for you, so when you do get this, you can select which one. If you are unsure of which local board you're a part of, there's a local board finder, so you just put in your your address of your organisation, and it'll let you know what local board you are a part of. Next slide, please. Exclusions or eligibility, sorry. Just bear with me. Yes, so, sorry, eligibility. Applicants with no legal structure applying for more than 1,000 must nominate an umbrella organisation. So an umbrella organisation is a company, organisation which has agreed to receive and administer the grant on your behalf. The umbrella organisation will be legally accountable to Auckland Council for the expenditure of the grant. You'll also need to provide their bank details as well as their financial statements and a letter of support. Initiatives must fit with at least one of the board's priorities as stipulated in the local board plan of your local board area. Again, there's a link there where you can have a look and find which one you are a part of. Preference will be given to initiatives which take place in each local board area and or are of benefit to the local board residents, as I've mentioned before, so that's helpful to know. Again, exclusions. So these will make you ineligible. So incentives must not be a core service provided by central government. Incentives must not have already been taken place before the board has the opportunity to consider the application. So, for example, if you have some sporting event that has already taken place, you cannot apply for funding to pay for that. Activities or debt repayment or promoting particular political goals are ineligible for funding also. Applicants must not have outstanding accountability obligations from previous council grants. So if you haven't met that accountability report date, we will follow up. We will try our best to work with you and get in contact with you to get that accountability report before everything sort of closes up. So before your current application gets presented to the board, we'll try and help you out to get all of that finalised for you, so we can take your new application to the board. Applications for the same project or activity more than once in a financial year. So they'd like to see something different to fund each financial year. Activities that do not relate to one or more of the local board plan outcomes. So it needs to, as I mentioned, each local board has different outcomes and needs to sort of fit in with at least one of those. Debt servicing, legal expenses or medical expenses, and activities whose purpose serves to promote religion or political messages. Next screen, please. So what are your priorities now? Yeah, don't let panic take over best practice. So ensure you are only applying when your project clearly meets the outcomes and priorities identified in the local board grant programs. Speak to a grants advisor, so we are all available. Again, you'll have all our details at the end. Before proceeding with the application, if you have any questions about your project's alignment to the local board grant program priorities, continue with your best applications forward. So again, if you need any help, you can ask us, but we like to see applications that are completed because then it makes everything easier, runs smoother, there's no back and forth as well, and it makes it better to present to the local board, and we have confidence in that. So make sure to proof check and review before submitting your application. Next slide, please. Important documents. So these are what you will need also when applying for funding. Evidence of bank account details, financial statements, minutes and a letter from chairperson showing decision to apply, previous to actually applying for the grant. Quotes to support budget items. You can also send, if you can't get a quote, you can also send past receipts if you've paid for it before, and then we can base our assessment on that as well. Letters of support for your project or events, and a letter of agreement from the school if your project is being delivered in a school. Any permits necessary if your project is on public land as well. So how to complete an application. We have a Smarting Grants program. The link is there. as well. You need a password, ID, and an email address. Try to make this email address as generic as possible. For example, admin@organisation.co.nz, just in case, you know, people come and go. You might have a new person applying for grants, so it just makes it a lot easier as well. And next slide, please. These are my contact details. The link is also there for the website. If you want to have a read over that as well, you can call the call centre. They will put us through to one of the grants advisors, and that's our generic email as well. Next slide, please. Yes, thank you. Any questions?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Arna. That's really good to see the real process that people would follow when applying to any of their local boards for grants there. Likewise with earlier, if you do have any questions, give you another 30 seconds or so to pop them in the chat. Otherwise, like Arna said, we'll make sure those details get circulated. And if you are looking at putting in an application, be sure to touch base with your grant advisor.
If I may just quickly, I understand a lot of you might have questions around the COVID and lockdowns. We understand it is very hard and things will need to get pushed out or cancelled or postponed. So we try to be as lenient as possible. As long as you let us know, we can try and work with you through that.
We do have another question that's come through from Emma along those lines there. Emma has asked, has the amount of funds available changed due to COVID?
No. So each local board has a grants budget. As far as I know, nothing has changed.
Yeah, just to carry that on, yeah, the amounts haven't changed, well, not dramatically at that we know for each of our local boards, but we are having a higher what do you call it, like more applicants coming through more for like the operational costs than the usual you know, like say venue hire or like just sports equipments and stuff. So now it's more operational costs. And because most of because of all our boards, we do have specific priorities and lower priorities. Right now, I know with my board specifically, we kind of we're like looking at ways to try help, you know, teams that are going through hardship. So I'm not saying that everyone, you know, definitely get the approved, but that's something to be considering. Like now that, you know, we do understand with COVID, it's disrupted a lot of the sports events as well as other projects. So we do a bit more lenient on what we are trying to support. So yeah, just get in, like Anna mentioned, you know, put through your applications. I mean, it's always good to have a complete application, you know, just so there is no back and forth. And like, we're always happy to help assist with any questions, even if you're coming through like via email. We're always getting emails daily. So it's always good to, you know, if you're not sure about anything, just flick email and we'll be happy to assist.